exciting.
Okay. That was fine. See, I didn't actually have a family glue around the television because I only really lived with an auntie, and we didn't get a TV till I was going out and didn't really watch it. But I mean, it was going on all round me.
Are we rehearsing?
Or are we on?
We're on.
My houseboat and I take great pressure in the
National Theatre. An excerpt from In His Own Right, John Lennon, the writer. And Victor Spinetti, who adapted and directed it. It opened last Tuesday. The critics in general thought it worth trying, even if it didn't altogether work. Among the expectant audience, Lennon readers were delighted. Non-readers probably sat there astounded aghast. Theatre took a gamble on the play for their triple bill. It came from Lennon's books, In His Own Right, and A Spaniard in the Works, which came out 3 years ago. They are collections of stories and poems, peppered with imaginative and irreverent distortions of the words, phrases and names that are part of our everyday reading, listening and viewing. BBC Panorama, Shamrock Wombs, and Jack the Nipple, alias Jack the Ripper. There's satire and melancholy and Lennon's eccentric drawings. The play weaves the verse and the prose into a picture of a boy growing up. On one side it shows his telly-fixated family, the human vegetables. On the other, the dreams and the fantasies he uses to escape from them. It's like looking at the cliches of post-war Britain in a hall of mirrors provided by Lennon's warped language. This was the achievement of director Victor Spinetti.
When I saw the rehearsal of it, I got quite emotional, you know, as if I'd written it. I mean, I knew in my heart of hearts who was who and what the book was saying, but not enough. I was too involved with it when it was written, and any criticism it had was either just rubbish or still only writing about what was on the paper. So it took something like this to happen to make me see what I was about then. You know.
What was interesting about it to me is the play was brought to me to act in, you see. And when I read it, I began to feel, by reading the poems and the stories, the kind of things that happened to me as a kid, and the kind of things I heard, and thank God it corresponded with when John came to see it, the kind of things that influenced him. The most important line in it is really the influences upon us, the things that make us what we are, make you what you are now, or make us what we were, the things that we half heard, you know, as kids.
Well, an awful lot of the play is about radio and TV.
Well, I mean, that's all I ever heard, didn't I?
Yeah.
I mean, you'd go home.
Comic books.
Yeah.
You've got the church.
Your comic books.
Your church.
Your classic comics.
Yeah, your classic comics.
Your Beanos.
Your school.
Ah, your school, your pub, and your TV, and your radio.
Exactly.
And that was it.
The funny thing, you didn't put in pop music.
No, because up till
before.
then, it hadn't hit me.
This is before.
Pop music didn't hit me till I was 16, and this is all before the things that happened before 16. Really.
But it's not really John's childhood. It's all of ours, really, isn't it, John?
It is. We're all one.
No, but I mean, isn't it?
We're all
you know.
one, aren't we?
No, but it is, you know.
I mean, what's going on?
Yeah.
There's another thing about this boy, and that is he won't talk plain English. He invents his own language,
Yeah.
which is what you did when you started writing, when your book started coming out.
Well, yeah, that was just a hangover from school, you know. I mean, I used to make the lads laugh with that scene, talking like that, and writing poetry like that. I used to write them and just give them to friends to laugh at, and that was the end of it. So when they all go down in the book, well, it turns into a book and into a play, etc., etc. But it's just my style of humour.
Instead of saying for example, as I was going to, say for sample.
For sample, yeah. And he was astounded aghast.
Yeah.
Well, some of them is because I was never any good at spelling all my life, you know. I never quite got the idea of spelling. English and writing, fine, but actually spelling the words. So, and also if I typed a lot of the book, and I can only do it very slowly with the finger, so the stories would be very short because I couldn't be bothered going on. And also, I'd spell it as as you say it, like Latin, really.
Yes.
You know, or just try and do it the simplest way to get it over with, because all I'm trying to do is tell a story, and what the words is spelt like is irrelevant, really. But if they make you laugh because the word used to be spelt like that, that's great. But the thing is the story and the sound of the word.
A lot of people wrote about your book and said, oh, James Joyce, Edward Lear, and so on. What did you think when they said that?
Well, when they said James Joyce, I must have come across him at school, but we hadn't done him. Like, I remember doing Shakespeare, I remember doing so-and-so, I remember doing Chaucer a bit, but I don't, or somebody like him doing funny words. I don't remember Joyce, you see, so the first thing they say, oh, he's read James Joyce, you know, so I hadn't. So the first thing I do is buy Finnegan's Wake and read a chapter, and it was great, you know, and I dug it, and I felt as though he's an old friend, but I couldn't make right through the book, you know. And so I read a chapter of Finnegan's Wake, and that was the end of it, so now I know what they're talking about. But I mean, he just didn't stop it.
What,
yeah.
What actually, though, had you read that you know was important to you when you were young?
Only kids' books, you know, Alice in Wonderland. The poems were all from Jabberwocky, started me into that kick.
No.
And drawing, I started trying to draw like Ronald Searle when I was about 8. So there was Jabberwocky and Ronald Searle I was turning into by the time I was 13. You know, I was determined to be Lewis Carroll with a hint of Ronald Searle.
Yeah, were you a Sherlock Holmes reader?
No, I had a holiday after we'd first made it big as Beatles in Tahiti, and there was nothing else on the boat but books, and Tahiti, and all those islands, great. But I still got into reading. So I was writing Spaniard in the Works, and I knew I never got past a story longer than a page. So I read a whole stack, sort of, the madman's Sherlock Holmes, where you get all the stories in one, and realised that every story was the same story. So I just wrote one Shamrock Wombs after 3 weeks of Sherlock Holmes in Tahiti, and that was the end of it.
There's a very, very sad poem at the end of the play about Khaki Hargreaves, who is some sort of person whose name changes during the poem, who's gone, lost. Who was Khaki Hargreaves?
Well, nobody, you know. It was Khaki or Kathy or Tammy, so it was all those people. But the point is that you got it, the sadness that I wrote into it. But after I'd written it, you write something, a song or anything, and you get the sadness, and then you perform it or you put it on paper, and then that's gone. And the only way you get the joy back of writing it, or the sadness back, is when somebody like Victor or somebody else comes and reads it to you, or acts it out. Like when I first saw the rehearsal of the play, and they said these words back to me, and I got the sadness from Khaki Hargreaves like I'd never heard it before.
You wrote that one when you were very young?
Yes, that was sort of pre-Beatle, 18, 19 era.
And have you written lately?
Well, I write, I think, all the time, so, I mean, it's the same. I actually don't put it on paper so much these days. But, I mean, it goes into songs, a lot of the same energy that went into those poems. But I don't know what I actually do with the thoughts, but they come out either on film or on paper or on tape. I've just got lots of tape, which I suppose if I put onto paper, it'd be a book. But it's just a matter of, do I want to make those tapes into paper or make the tapes into records?
Does it feel the same to you when you're writing something on paper and when you're writing a song lyric?
It does now. In the old days, I used to think songwriting was this, you know, and I love you and you love me, and my writing was something else, you know, even if I didn't think of it quite like that. But then I just realised through Dylan and other people, Bob Dylan, not Thomas, that it is the same thing, you know. That's what I didn't realise, being so naive, and that you know, you don't write pop songs and then you do that and then you do that. That everything you do is the same thing, so do it the same way. But sometimes I'll write lyrics to a song first, and then I'll get the same feeling as Khaki Hargreaves or a poem, and then write the music to it after. So then it's a poem sung. But some of the time, sometimes the tune comes, and then you just put suitable words to fit the tune. If the tune's doodle-doodle-doodle, and you have shagaboo-doo-cha, you know, you have sound words then, just the sound of it. Because it is all sound. Everything's vibrations, I believe. You know, everything is sound, really, or vision. And the difference between sound and vision I'm not quite sure about. But it's all just...
You live in a...
Yes. Well, I'm just aware that is going on all the time, you know, like that camera's purring, those people are humming over there, and you're breathing and inhaling, and he's humming, and I'm talking on a So all the time this is going on like this all the time. And so I'm aware of that, really.
The boy hates a lot of things. And in a way, you could say you were attacking these things, like organised religion, the way people teach you in school.
I feel the same now, really, about organised religion, education, and all those things that everybody's still laughing at. But I mean, I expressed it that way then. I don't know how I'd express it now. You know, it'd be slightly different, really.
But there's a tremendous amount of compassion in his writing, which I love. It really is saying, come on, do what you want to do.
Because, I mean, I've always sort of suspected that there was a God, even when I thought I was an atheist. You know, I didn't have, just in case. But I believe it, so, I mean, I am full of compassion, but you can still sort of dislike things. I just hate things less, sort of, I can't think of the word, strenuously than I did. I know, I haven't got as big a chip about it, because maybe I've escaped out of it a bit. I think all our society is run by insane people for insane objectives. You know? And I think that's what I sussed when I was 16 and 12 way down the line. But I expressed it differently all through my life. It's the same thing I'm expressing all the time. But now I can put it into that sentence that I think we're being run by maniacs for maniacal ends, you know. If anybody can put on paper what our government and the American government, etc., and the Russian, Chinese, what they are actually trying to do, you know, and what they think they're doing, I'd be very pleased to know what they think they're doing. I think they're all insane, you know, but I'm liable to be put away as insane for expressing that. You know, that's what's insane about it. I mean, don't you agree?
I do.
It's insane, you know. It's not just a bit strange, it's just insane.
And that's the
And nobody knows, all these people in the street, and that, half the people watching this are going to be saying, oh, what's he saying, what's he saying? You know, that you are being run by people who are insane, and you don't know.
The real world is so insane that the fantasy world becomes, you know, something much better.
Yeah.
We are living in insane times, aren't we? You know, we really are.
Yeah, and the thing that you feel all the way through is that there's this boy trying to get out.
Sure.
Well, I did, you see. I got out, is the joke. But that's just a sort of picture of somebody who's still in it.
Yeah.
I mean, you
all
get
the
out in your
time
mind.
he's dreaming his way out.
Well, I mean, you do, till you actually physically get out of it.
You dream your way out into being Sherlock Holmes or...
Whatever.
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 And when the boy leaves at the end, I don't see him going into reality. I think his reality is his closely knit family locked up in television, locked up in those... He's going into fantasy, which I think is a real world.
And at the end of the play, there's this big family group, and there's a great big family row.
Is there?
What's
Yeah.
the situation
Brummers
there?
driving.
Oh, Brummers driving.
Be a
Yeah.
golfer.
It's all about Brummers driving.
Yeah.
Do tell us about Brummers driving.
Oh, Brummers driving is Brummers driving, all those jobs that people have that they don't want. And there's probably about 90% Brummers drivers watching in at the moment.
Yeah.
But you don't have to be a Brummers driver, you see. It depends how involved in Brummers driving you are. But Brummers driving, Paul explained at the beginning of the book, is it doesn't, you know, what does he say? He was saying what is Brummers driving? It isn't anything. And
But
that's the
it's
bit
grafting. It's doing
through
a
Sir
job.
Lawrence
that
too,
it's-
doesn't it?
It's doing what your
Brummers
dad
driving.
told
So Lawrence said, I have no idea what Brummers driving means. What is Brummers driving? I said, it's any kind of job you have to graft at, like going to a steelworks or to a coal mine and follow your father, you know.
The universal sorrow just hits you about once a week now, bang.
Yeah.
And then you say, oh, well, and then you're back to, well, get on with it, you know, get on with it.
And laugh.
Well, I mean, there are laughs to compensate, because if there weren't, I mean, it'd be very melancholy.